Hello and welcome to the channel. I hope you're all well. In recent times I've tied a wet fly, the silver March brown, and also the March brown nymph. So today I'm going to tie the dry fly, and I'm going to tie it in parachute fashion. Now it is the time for the March brown, although I have been told by one subscriber that the March brown where they live doesn't appear until June, so presumably that becomes the June brown. But the March brown is quite a large fly, and for that reason in the vise I have a size 14 dry fly hook, and I'll be tying with 10/0 dark brown thread. So I'll start that just before the eye, wind down and trim off the excess. Now for the tail, I'm going to use some medium Pardo Coq de Lion, and won't need many fibres, 2 or 3, 4, whatever takes your fancy. Pull them out at 90 degrees and tear them off and tie those in. Now the tail of the March brown is quite long. It's certainly a lot longer than the body of the fly. So I'll carry on tying that down to the rear. And then I'm going to pass a wrap underneath to lift and separate it. Tie down the rest of the fibres and trim them up. Tighten up my thread and wind back down to the rear of the hook shank. Right, now for the rib, I'm trying to keep this quite simple. I'm going to use some light brown thread for the rib. Just snip a piece off and I'll tie that in. Now the colour of the March brown does vary depending upon its environment and where you are. So it may be darker or lighter, but I'm trying to make this a pattern that is suitable for all areas. Right, now I'm going to build up the body to try and make it a little more carrot shaped. So take a moment. Now you can use whatever material you like for the body, but I'm just using thread, as I said, to make it as easy as possible. And wind on the rib. When you wind on the rib, it's a narrower space towards the rear of the fly, and you can open it up as you go along, creating a wider gap between the thread up to the thorax area, and tie off the rib. And trim it up. Right, now for the post and the wing, I'm going to use some brown Antron. I'm going to snip a piece off and double that over. And slide it underneath the thread so that it sits on top, something like that. Try and even it out. Tie it down, and I'm going to put a couple of wraps around the bottom to secure it. Like so. I'm just going to take that loop out because it sits better when it's totally free. for the parachute, for the wing, I'm going to use a dyed grizzly, and this is actually called March brown, this colour. So I've taken off one feather, one hackle, and I've trimmed it up at the bottom, and I'm going to tie that in. And pull it up to tie it in to the post. This should give it a nice solid base for winding. I'll trim up that piece of stalk. And bind it down. Right, now for the thorax, I'm going to use some hare's ear. And this is quite a dark brown, and it comes from the inside of the ear. So I'm just going to put some of this on. It's not a great deal that you'll need. A couple of turns at the rear and a couple of turns at the front, and there you have it. Right, and now to wind on the hackle. Wind it round, and you want it so that it comes down the post as you wind. I'll give it one more wrap. And then turn over the thread, pull it back and tie it down. Now I'm going to put just a little bit of glue onto the thread before I tie it off. I'm going to use a half-hitch tool to do that. And trim up the tying thread and trim up the hackle. Right, now I'm just going to make sure that that is well down. Now the length of the wing is going to be at least halfway down the length of the tail, and I'm going to cut that at an angle like so. Now, there's some odd fibres here, so I'm going to get rid of those. Let's have a look underneath. I'm just going to brush out just a little that hare's ear. More fibres. And there you have the finished fly. It's something that will float well. It will float all day with this large hackle and the Antron post. These fibres are very deceiving. So there you have it. The March Brown in parachute, or a version of it. Now, if you like to tie it on a curved bend hook, that's what it will look like. That's a size 14 also. Fairly simple tie, but a very effective pattern. Do give it a go, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for viewing. Bye.